So let's think about these issues a little more. Many people think of climate as binary. It's either good or bad. But in fact, climate is best represented as a continuum. There's degrees. In this particular study that I'm referencing, they looked at whether the climate was marginalizing or centralizing of certain students and whether it did so explicitly or implicitly. So at the lower end of the continuum, you might have a course climate that's explicitly marginalizing of certain students. For instance, I worked many years ago with an instructor who would say on the first day of class, "I do not believe in disabilities, so do not ask me for accommodations, don't even ask." Now, that instructor got a talking to because that's illegal. You cannot say that, but it's not as if his ideas and his dispositions have changed. So he's moved on to the level of implicitly marginalizing. It probably still comes out in other ways in the course. Chris probably felt implicitly marginalized in that course when there was no box that captured their identity. Let's imagine as a thought experiment that Chris had said something and said, those 2 boxes are not enough for me, I need a 3rd box. What could have happened? If the instructor shut Chris down, then we're back into being marginalizing. But if the instructor had said something like, "Thank you for letting me know, I wasn't aware that people can identify beyond the gender binary. We all learned something today. And in fact, this is good statistical learning because now we have 3 categories. We can't use the t-test to compare 3 different groups. We need to build more statistical machinery. That's a great segue into ANOVA. So thank you so much, Chris." Now we're talking about a climate that's implicitly centralizing, puts that perspective at the center as a valued perspective. And maybe next year, when the professor knows that that might be an issue, if they do the same activity, already comes in with cards that include multiple options. So now it's explicitly centralizing, and Chris doesn't have to guess whether they should raise their hand and make a big deal of this. Because the problem with the implicitly centralizing stage is that the risk, the onus, is on the student to raise the issue, and then they don't know if it goes well or if they get shut down. So if we can take that risk off of the students, that's more energies that can be channeled toward learning. So in this particular study, they explained the different categories of course climate to professors, and they asked the professors to rate their own course climate. And professors rated them between implicitly and explicitly centralizing. Well, then they asked the students. And the students put the course squarely into implicitly marginalizing. So there's a difference of 1.5 points in the average here on a 4-point scale. That's a pretty significant difference. And it's a good reminder for everybody, for all of us, that climate is defined as the perception of the climate. We're all in this room taking the same course from the same instructor, and some of us might feel frustrated, some of us might feel affirmed, some of us might feel included or excluded. And so we want to check the perceptions. We want to see who is experiencing the course climate in what ways. Because the good news is that we control the climate. The climate is made up of the things that we put out, the messages, implicit and explicit, verbal and nonverbal, that we put out.